Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin here in West Africa, where Sierra Leone has lifted an indefinite nationwide curfew imposed on Sunday after armed men attacked the military barracks and prisons in Freetown, the capital. However, a new night curfew is to begin today from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. local time every day until further notice. Local media reports normalcy in the capital with military patrols and checkpoints on the streets. A delegation from ECOWAS and the Nigerian government are also expected to be in Sierra Leone in solidarity with the government. Diplomatic missions in the country, as well as the Commonwealth Secretariat, have also issued statements of solidarity to the government. President Julius Maada Bio addressed the nation on Sunday, saying most of the leaders of the unrest had been arrested and will be held accountable even as investigation is ongoing.
There was a breach of security at the military barracks at Wilberforce in Freetown. Some individuals attacked the military armory and other locations in Freetown, including Pademba Road Correctional Center. In the event, prisoners escaped. The attackers have been repelled by a combined team of gallant security forces, and calm has been restored. Most of the leaders have been arrested. Security operations and investigations are ongoing. We will ensure that those responsible are held accountable through due process. I thank all citizens for complying with the security measures and advise everyone to remain vigilant and to cooperate with the security forces. Fellow Sierra Leoneans, in times like this, we are reminded of the importance of national unity. Let us not succumb to fear or division. Let us come together as one people, one nation. Our strength lies in our unity, and it is through solidarity that we can overcome challenges that come our way.
Well, joining us now is Lawrence Williams, editor at the Freetown Post newspaper based in Freetown. Thank you, Lawrence, so much for your time on the program.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me too.
We understand normalcy has returned to the nation after yesterday's attack. Talk to us about the latest today. I mean, we just heard President Bio speaking about the attack and saying most of the leaders have been arrested and investigation is ongoing.
Yes, of course, the president in his address last night to the nation informed us that calm and normalcy has been restored and that the government security forces were now in full control of the situation and that everybody should go about his or her own normal business. This morning, what we saw, or in fact, what we're experiencing now is heavy deployment of military personnel in various or strategic locations across the capital and in some other areas of the country. In addition to that, as much as normalcy has been restored in the words of the president, we also observed that several businesses, shops have remained closed so far throughout the day, or for the most part of the day. And it is assumed that such will remain the practice in the coming days until full assurance is being given to the populace as to how the government intends to put the whole situation behind our backs. But moreover, the government says through the Information and Communications Minister that they have refused to actually call it a coup or an attempt to overthrow the constitutionally elected government of His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio. However, they are actually assessing the situation to make a final determination as to whether the attack on the military barracks and other installations in the country, as well as the security breach in the main or the largest prisons facility in the country, all amounted to an overthrow, an attempt to overthrow the government. Meanwhile, we have been informed as well today by the Office of National Security spokesman that many or some of those involved in the attack against the state were actually retired military and police officers. In fact, in some of the videos or footages we've seen so far, which have been verified on social media, we've seen some individuals whom, in fact, the Minister of Information confirmed to be true that one of the individuals killed or arrested who later died was a close security protection to the former president and his bike Nkrumah. In like manner, we saw the former president yesterday tweeted condemning the whole situation, in fact referring to it as grave breaches of national security, but as well expressed significant concern regarding his bodyguard, who is his state security personnel, so to speak, who was assigned to his Freetown residence. And it is alleged that the said state security assignee to the former president was gunned down. We don't know the circumstances surrounding his death as to what exactly happened. But the former president is alleging that he was shot. He was killed on duty, and also another personnel who was on duty at his Freetown residence was also taken by the government security forces. Again,
right. So while we're trying to understand what happened yesterday, you said the government is not terminate an attempted coup. While we're trying to do that, what are the security operatives doing concerning the prison outbreak? The gunmen attacked the prisons also, and so many criminals are on the loose. What are the efforts, in recapturing these fugitives?
Well, the chief minister briefed us this morning that some of the escapees from the central prison facility have voluntarily surrendered themselves. And of course, the police have also put out a warning, cautioning members of the public against aiding and abetting criminals, particularly those who escaped from or who were let loose from the prison facility. In fact, one of the country's most controversial hip-hop artists who had been in prison was also set free yesterday, and he put out a video saying that he is willing to return return himself to the government security, provided there is adequate security for him. He said that he actually pulled out, he actually fled because there were grave security concerns and threats within and around the precinct of the prison facility. In like manner, not just the central prison which housed male prisoners, but also the female correctional center in Freetown was also opened, and prisoners, inmates, some of whom were actually serving life sentences, were also let loose. So all of those ones in their thousands have run away from the cells, and many people are expressing concerns as to the security threat regarding the escapees. And because, many people would have testified against some of those who have been convicted and put behind bars. So the communities have been encouraged to report to the security forces whatever suspicion they have regarding movement of people within their communities. Another thing again that has been observed, is that there are abandoned vehicles in so many locations. Some of those vehicles have military gears, weapons, and other military fatigues inside. and communities have been calling on the government, security forces, to go and take hold of those abandoned vehicles.
All right, then, Lawrence, we continue to keep our eyes on Sierra Leone, but in the meantime, thank you so much for your reporting. Lawrence Williams is the editor at the Freetown Post newspaper that's based in Freetown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, moving on, Niger has started running its biggest solar power plant, filling in the shortage brought about by a cut in imported power supply from neighboring Nigeria back in July. Well, Nigeria, which accounted for 70% of Niger's power, cut its electricity supply back in August after the neighboring countries imposed sanctions on Nigerian military leaders who overthrew elected President Mohamed Bazoum. Well, most of Niger has since then suffered frequent blackouts. However, the energy minister, Mohamed Mustafa, says the quality of electricity supply has now improved in the capital and other towns following the coming online of the solar plant. The plant is said to have over 55,000 solar panels and can generate 30 megawatts of electricity. Well, people in displaced camps on the outskirts of Mogadishu say they are in urgent need of help as the floods worsen their livelihood. Somalia's flooding has been described as the worst in decades, and according to the United Nations, it has displaced about 650,000 people. Many of the displaced people wade in dirty water to move around their homes in the camp, and the death toll has risen to nearly 100 as heavy rains continue to batter the country. Well, like the rest of East and Horn of Africa, Somalia has been battered by relentless heavy rains that began in October, caused by the El Nino and Indian Ocean weather phenomena. Well, aid agents are now concerned about the outbreak of diseases under these circumstances.
Overall, we have now roughly 650,000 people displaced and 1.4, 1.5 million, to be very honest, nobody really knows the concrete figures, are going to be affected. That is now, but we have currently a confluence still of the Indian Ocean dipole of El Nino. We have a cyclone building up in the Indian Ocean. We have rains continuing in the highlands of Ethiopia. All of that means that this is not over and it's not yet at its peak. It's getting worse and these people are going to suffer more. We do what we can and we are reaching a lot of people, but we have to realize that we're still in the rescue phase. Our partners of the Somali Red Crescent Society are still rescuing people who have been surviving hanging on to trees. We really need to imagine the dramatic situation these people live in. And we are at the same time now launching the assistance. The people need shelter, they need medical health care, and in the immediate they also need food. And their environment has become very unhygienic. So assistance with regard to hygiene material, water purification by tablets or by small transportable water treatment plants are amongst the priorities which we are addressing now.
Malawian opposition politicians and rights groups have criticized President Lazarus Chakwera and his government for sending 221 young Malawians to work on farms in Israel. Well, the move on Saturday followed Israel's aid package of $60 million 2 weeks ago to help Malawi's economic recovery. The labor export deal has been criticized amid concerns over the secrecy with which it was done and the potential risks to citizens at a time Israel is in a conflict with the Palestinian Hamas group. However, the government has defended the deal, saying that it will export Malawians to Israel and other countries to fulfill what it terms the administration's commitment to job creation and youth empowerment. Well, let's speak now to Clement Msiska, Malawian journalist with Capital Radio. He joins us now from Lilongwe. Thank you so much, Clement, for speaking to us at this time.
Welcome.
Well, help us understand this deal between the Malawian government and Israel. It's termed the labor export deal. It's expected to send young Malawians, or has already sent, some Malawians to work on Israeli farms.
Yes. So according to the deal, the government of Malawi is expected to send around 5,000 young men and women to work in farms in Israel. So according to the government, this is part of economic recovery plan, because Malawi currently is going through some torrid times economically. So they believe that exporting labor will help Malawi to realize more forex, because these people will be paid in their Malawian accounts, not accounts opened in banks in Malawi. So they believe they will have enough forex to be used by government, because Malawi has been going through some difficult times due to lack of forex.
So what is the guarantee now of the safety of these people going to Israel, seeing that Israel is currently at war?
Yes, that has been one of the contentious issue here in Malawi, because people are questioning the timing to say Israel is at war with Palestine. Why are you sending people to Israel to work? Just yesterday, there were reports that citizens from other countries who have been working in farms in Israel have gone back to their respective countries due to security concerns. So the rights activists, politicians, and members of the public are questioning the timing to say, wasn't it right for the government to send these people to Israel at this particular time? Why not wait for the conflict to calm down and then send these people later?
All right, finally, Clement, we know opposition politicians, just like you've mentioned, they are criticizing this deal, but how are ordinary Malawians reacting to this, especially the families of those who have to travel?
Talking about families of those who have already traveled, or those who are about to travel to Israel, there's some kind of excitement, because, like I said, Malawi is going through some torrid times economically. So they believe that this is an opportunity for them to make some easy money, because they'll be paid in dollars, and it's around 2 million Malawi kwacha, roughly around 2 million Malawi kwacha. So they believe this is an opportunity for them to go out and work, because we have a lot of young people in Malawi who have diplomas, degrees, master's degrees, but they're not employed, they're staying idle. The government is failing to create job opportunities. A lot of companies are struggling, they can't employ people. There are a lot of teachers, nurses, for instance, who graduated years back, but the government has failed to bring them into the system to work. So it is more of an excitement among these young people to go and work in Israel. However, there are debates in the public because of the secrecy around this whole deal, because a lot of people knew about this deal last week on Thursday, when the leader of the opposition in parliament rose to ask the government side to explain why people are leaving to Israel, and yet the government, through the relevant ministry, for instance, Ministry of Labor, did not come out to say anything about it. Up to date, as we're speaking, the government has not given any statement on the same.
All right, then, Clemens, just very quickly. So does this mean the deal for these people, is it mandatory or voluntary?
For these people, is more of voluntary. They have.
All right. All right, then. All right.
To go through.
I just needed to clarify that it's not mandatory. The government is not forcing people to go there. But I would like to thank you, Clement Msiska, Malawian journalist with the Capital Radio. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Well, as the truce in Gaza nears its deadline, Egypt, Qatar and U.S. negotiators are pushing for an extension of the ceasefire deal. Well, on day 3 of the truce, video from Egypt's Al Qahira TV showed a bus carrying 3 Thai nationals and 1 person with Russian citizenship to a medical center in Rafah. Well, they were earlier seen crossing from Gaza's side of the border in Red Cross vehicles and then returned to Israel after being checked. Well, Hamas has said it handed over 13 Israeli hostages, 3 Thais and 1 with Russian citizenship on the 3rd day of the truce with Israel. Under the terms of the Israel-Hamas deal, 39 Israeli hostages, in Gaza have been released so far, and in exchange, 117 Palestinians have been released from Israeli prisons. Meanwhile, Palestinians waiting by a border crossing on the Egyptian side seized upon the chance to head back into the Gaza Strip amid the truce, with many eager to go back home to reunite with their families and friends. And that's despite the danger which lies ahead. A number of people who previously fled Gaza have been left stranded in Egypt ever since the fighting began, and many saw the temporary ceasefire which began on Friday as the chance to get back across. Well, in South Africa, protesters have marched under a giant Palestinian flag in Durban to show solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. Demonstrators carried signs with the message, "End Israeli occupation, apartheid, and free Palestine and freedom for Palestine," with others waving Palestinian and South African flags. Sunday's rally took place during a 4-day truce between Israel and Hamas.
There's a genocide taking place. It's a Palestinian Holocaust. We are out here today to show our support and our solidarity for all the people in Palestine and in Gaza.
Coming here today, we mothers feel it the most. All the children in the world are our children, and we feel the pain, we feel the suffering, we feel what they feel in their hearts. And I can't even begin to imagine the strength they have to move on and relocate and just go to other places.
Coming from the apartheid era, we've stood for apartheid, we've marched against apartheid in South Africa, and there's no reason why we will not stand up for apartheid again. This is genocide. The whole world has spoken. 90%, even more, may have said that. If you look at the latest stats, it's probably gone up from 90 to about 95% of the world standing up for Palestine.
Well, the spotlight this weekend was on the Akabulan Immigrants Award, where resilience and positive impacts were celebrated. The event highlighted the outstanding contributions of immigrants, refugees in South Africa, acknowledging their remarkable efforts in the country. Additionally, it also honored individuals who triumphed over adversity, enriching the tapestry of their adopted homeland. And that's where we end Network Africa for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde.